Today, we are absolutely thrilled to bring you a brand new Blue Bus Learning Bite, designed straight from the brilliant minds of the coaches at the Blue Bus. We're going to be exploring conversations that matter and discovering how the bus we choose to drive directly shapes the outcomes of our interactions. As we'll see, red bus mindsets usually lead straight to conflict. Green bus conversations tend to result in this fragile false harmony, while the blue bus, well, that guides us toward a really constructive balance of curiosity and candor. Every single day, we exchange countless words, right? With colleagues, partners, friends, family. But if we pause and really look closely at these interactions, they are fundamentally shaping our relationships and our outcomes. Sure, we have conversations just to share information, but we also have them to influence behavior, to shift thinking, and to genuinely connect. Every single chat we have holds the potential to either strengthen or weaken the bonds we share with the people around us.
Okay, let's dive into this route for today's journey. We'll be looking at 1. Meaningful conversations. 2. Big F's and little f's. 3. The power of connection. 4. Choosing our bus. And 5. The blue bus mindset.
To kick things off, I'd love to ask you to reflect on this for just a moment. What actually makes a conversation truly matter? Like, what elevates a passing comment or a really simple check-in into a moment of real consequence? Well, it's not always about the topic at hand. It's mostly about what's happening beneath the surface. The relationship between you and the other person is actively in play.
To really understand these interactions, it helps to categorize them into two groups. On one side, we've got the big F's. These are the obvious, kind of anxiety-inducing moments, right? The formal performance review, announcing a massive organizational restructure, or breaking significant news. Our bodies usually tell us we're in a big F moment because we get that nervous flutter in our stomach. But then, on the other hand, we have the little F's. These are the subtle, everyday moments. It's a child seeking attention the second we walk through the door, a colleague's casual plea for help, or just an offhand comment from a friend. Our brains actually tend to filter these out because they seem so small, but the truth is, they accumulate. How we respond to these little F's over time does just as much, if not way more, to shape the actual quality of our relationships. Now, what's really interesting here is the data drawn from the famous Love Lab studies by relationship researchers John and Julie Gottman. They actually observed couples to see exactly how partners responded to what they called bids for connection, those little F microgestures asking for attention or affection. And when partners consistently turned toward each other, meaning they actively acknowledged and engaged with those tiny bids, the results were absolutely staggering. Couples who stayed together 6 years later had turned toward each other's bids a massive 86% of the time. But let's contrast that with this striking number, 33%. The couples who ultimately divorced had only turned toward each other's bids 33% of the time. They were either ignoring the bids, turning away, or responding with outright hostility. This brilliantly illustrates that relationships rarely fail over one massive, explosive disagreement. They're built or broken by how we handle the day-to-day, accumulating little F moments. And that leads us directly to a foundational principle here at the Blue Bus. Connection is personal. If we want to break down those natural us versus them barriers that inevitably pop up in workplaces and in life, it really starts right here. Getting past surface-level interactions and genuinely connecting is what actually builds trust. And true connection happens when two very specific needs are met. Let's look at the first one. Connection requires being seen. This is the external process of being acknowledged. And it's not just someone noticing you're standing in the room. It's that profound feeling of they see me, being accepted for who we are with all of our unique history and inherent value. Because when we don't feel seen, we feel invisible, kind of like we're just another avatar or a nameless number in the crowd.
The second requirement is being heard. This is the internal process where we feel truly understood. It's that huge, relieving, they get me feeling. Now, a really crucial point here is that being heard is entirely different from being agreed with. Someone might not agree with our viewpoint at all, but if they intellectually understand what we're saying and emotionally empathize with how we feel, we still feel heard. Connection lies beautifully right at the intersection of feeling both seen and heard. So, if you are in a leadership role, how might this apply to you? Well, simply by dint of doing the boss, leaders naturally carry what we call a weight advantage. Your words carry extra social weight. An innocent, passing comment from a leader can so easily be interpreted by a team member as a firm public instruction. A casually floated idea, that can be taken as a hard directive. So this is a gentle invitation for leaders to reflect on how their words land. How might we consciously lower that power differential so our teams actually feel safe enough to truly speak up, ensuring they remain seen and heard? Depending on our mindset heading into a conversation, we are effectively choosing to drive one of three buses: the red, green, or blue bus. And just like a real bus, the one we choose determines our exact destination and outcome. Let's break these down and see exactly where each bus takes our relationships. First up is the red bus. Driving the red bus is all about asserting our will. The focus is entirely on me, our own needs, proving ourselves right, and attempting to control what the other person thinks or does. When we red bus someone, we predictably trigger their fight or flight response. They might push back and argue, or they might completely shut down. The result? They might be seen, but they definitely do not feel heard. Then we have the green bus. Riding the green bus focuses on a distant them. This mindset is literally all about avoidance. We duck uncomfortable truths, we evade responsibility, or we dilute our message so much that it loses all meaning, all in this misguided attempt to protect others or ourselves from conflict. But the reality is, this only creates a fragile, false harmony. When we avoid the real issues, we leave so many things unsaid. The outcome here is that the other person feels neither seen nor heard. So the blue bus is exactly where we want to be. The blue bus focuses on us. It's about entering the conversation with positive intent, respecting that the other person is totally capable and has differing perspectives. We build these great adult-to-adult relationships by balancing our shared interests with the candor required to respectfully address those uncomfortable truths. When we blue bus the conversation, we put all our cards on the table. We maximize the chances that the other person feels genuinely, authentically seen and heard. This brings us to a really beautiful invitation for self-awareness. Before entering any conversation that matters, be it a massive big F or a tiny little f, we might just pause and ask ourselves, which bus am I driving right now? This is our moment to slow down and check our intent before we speak. Am I trying to control? Am I trying to avoid? Or am I genuinely seeking constructive connection? It's also super vital to remember that perfection isn't the goal here at all. An imperfect conversation is almost always better than silence. Choosing to have the conversation, even if your delivery is a bit clunky, sends a really loud signal that the person is valued. Conversely, ducking the moment and avoiding the conversation completely erodes integrity and burns trust. Our unspoken, "I don't have time for this," is so often heard loud and clear as "I don't have time for you."
This explainer is truly just the beginning of our exploration into how we communicate. In future Blue Bus Learning Bites, we are going to dig even deeper. We'll be exploring how our deep-seated human needs for certainty, status, and control constantly play out behind the scenes in these moments. We'll also offer some really practical guides for those common yet super challenging leadership scenarios, things like leading teams through organizational change, correcting employee performance constructively, and coaching to truly build capability. There is so much more fascinating terrain for us to cover together.
But for now, we leave you with this final, provocative thought. As you step away from this learning bite and go back into your day, whether at work or at home, which bus might we choose to drive in our very next conversation? We invite you to be curious, be candid, and just see what happens when you truly aim to make someone feel seen and heard.